My talk is like more than one talk actually, and then this is not even my talk really, in some ways. Actually, the story behind that is that after I submitted here, and I was talking to Hugo, and he's like, yo, you're gonna change your talk up a little for REcon so it's different from CanSec. So I don't know how many of you saw this at CanSec, but it's not gonna be the whole same thing, because I changed it a little bit, because after I submitted and was accepted, I was talking to Spoon him, and I'm like, what does REcon even mean? Why is it called REcon? He's like, reverse engineering, fool. I'm like, oh, my talk is not about reverse engineering. So with that in mind, I like put two more presentations together, like in this, one is not about reverse engineering also, and then the other one is kind of. So I guess I'm just going to start off with this one, and then I'll transition into the next one, and then into the next one, because in my mind, for some reason, even though they're three different ones, they begin to like seamlessly integrate with each other. So this first one I'm going, it's called Advancements in Anonymous Annoyance. It's really about threat modeling of collaborative content, online collaborative content, and like what does that mean? What's collaborative content? First of all, like people forget that like the internet, or they think the internet is like computers with software vulnerabilities and things, but the internet is really like connectivity of people and culture and society. And more now, I don't know what internet you guys use, but like I don't spend that much time on the internet like going to product websites and buying products and things. I like waste my time like messaging like girls on AIM and using IRC or like reading Wikipedia or like full disclosure or just like goofing off with people. I'm not like sitting there like playing like SimCity 2000 or something. Like if I'm going to play a game, it's probably going to be connected to other people. And from that, well, first I'm going to, does my mouse work? I'm actually going to start off here. I explained who I was and whatnot, so I can skip those. And I'm going to start off with a quote by John Erickson. And we were just hanging out, and we're just talking about goofy stuff, like he talks about microphone shoes and things. And he's like, I love the idea that we're using all this technology for like the stupidest shit, like MySpace and things, you know. But it's true. And so what I'm going to go over right now is kind of a history of the collaboration on the internet, show you what it is. You get kind of like you could get a quantified view of what that means in some sense. And then I'll go over some things, reputation attacks and kind of different attacks and threats in collaborative content. And then I'm going to go over a little bit of capture breaking a little bit, but my home machine is down, so I can't like SSH into there and like use all the command line tools. So I'll kind of like summarize some of them a little bit, and then you could like go try it yourself. And then I'm not really going to defeat any spam filters this time, because I actually am going to use spam filters later for reverse engineering source code. That doesn't make any sense probably to you right now, but it will when you see it maybe. And then I got another little special demo that I'll write some code and whatnot. So the history of collaboration and empowerment on e-society. The word empowerment is funny because Lotax gave a presentation one time on, it's not clear what it was on, but if you listen to it a couple times, it's actually about kind of these type of things, and he used this word, empowering the community, kind of like a weird Web 2.0 kind of catchy phrase. So I'll go here and kind of go do a little history of this. Back in the day, there was like Usenet, and Usenet was one of the first, collaborative things on the internet where people could like submit forums and kind of like forums for the news groups, and then talk to each other and like share information. And just like protocols they were all insecure, and Usenet was also insecure in terms of collaborative and interactive way, in that it was like not very moderated. And the content in it was hard to gauge like a value, like a reputation against the content. So here's Usenet, you know, that things like how to have sex with a dolphin, and but you know, everyone's used Usenet. People still use Usenet. They up like the maximum page size, like megs and megs, because I guess everyone uses it for like peer file distribution-ish type of stuff. And then from there was like, you know, people started creating closed mailing lists or private mailing lists, or like mailing lists are obscure, and then so there was like full disclosure. That's one that you guys probably might read, you know, about. Let's see here if this loads up though. I can just Google it. And full disclosure, they pride themselves on kind of just allowing you to post anything you want and not moderating it, which there's a law, maybe I made law, but as noise increases, value decreases. And then I think you kind of start to see that impact on mailing lists. Like, is it my network not working, or do I not know what I'm clicking?
If there's any issue, I guess.
Here we go. There's no issue. It was just slow. That's okay. Well, I'll wait for that photo. Oh, here we are. What month is probably good? Maybe February. So people post, you know, vulnerabilities. If you want to find what's a new vulnerability, they're probably talking about it. If you want to read like really good poetic posts, you could go like read posts by NetDev, any of you guys? Yeah. And then there's other things here, like pretty good advisories. Let me see if I can find any good ones here. There was a good advisory here somewhere. Maybe it's in March. Oh, here we are. This is a pretty good advisory. So the content on these lists is it's not moderated. And I think that's kind of one of these, you can kind of see these attack vectors building up. And the thing is, these types of systems, these collaborative systems, especially when you move from like more commercialized things like MySpace and whatnot, it's not that the risk and then the value associated with that risk, if you're like familiar with the vulnerability management threat model and how to do asset valuation, it's hard, or at least they never incorporate it, any pen testers probably never incorporate the value of the collaborative content in things like MySpace. Like the value in those systems, it's not like the back-end system might be vulnerable to this one exploit or whatnot, and then that's the risk. The risk is really, in those systems, useful content, and quantifying the value of that content is relatively hard, and I just don't see it happening right now. And as more and more content moves towards this, people are going to need to be aware of modeling this type of like risk and liability and things. And so then after, what else is on the internet here? Wikipedia is actually pretty good. If you've ever read Nature journal, it's kind of just like a science journal. People publish science papers in there. And they did a study, I guess you call it a study, where they wanted to judge the quality of Wikipedia in terms of technical facts and useful information versus like a typical Encyclopedia Britannica. And they actually found that the content is of equal or better caliber and quality than like Encyclopedia Britannica. Here's kind of like a Wikipedia site called Encyclopedia Dramatica. Its content is also factual here. And the interesting thing, I don't know how Wikipedia does it, this is going on Wikipedia, but their content is pretty good. And so they have a kind of like the moderation system and the reputation system assigning value to posters is not very clear to the user. There's some sites where it's slightly more clear of how your content is moderated and such. Here it seems like Wikipedia is more like a behind the scenes kind of a nepotism, and also you need to know what you're talking about kind of thing. It's not like you click yes or no or things like on City Search, which is actually kind of a shitty site. So one is Slashdot. They have a moderation thing. You know, it kind of works pretty good, except for their moderation is inverse of what I care about on Slashdot. I don't want to read like 2+. I want to read -1 moderated. I don't read like the crap. It's much more interesting actually than like this useless drivel about here's how the fishing business works, as here in Slashdot all the time. And if you read the posts, they're much better if you read these ones. You might, there's some good ones, if you go all the way down here to the next page, or right here. This is score -1. But this content, oh here, no, that's fine. See, if you listen to their moderation and value system, then you wouldn't see good stuff like this here, where, you know, this is better content, at least from my perspective. And these moderation systems, although Slashdot is objectively moderating, meaning their disposition is basically for the entire community. Yes, it's good, but no, it's not. But so things are going to hopefully tend towards kind of like a more subjective kind of moderation, which is kind of what Wiki is doing, except that there's no quantified way of doing this. And got dry mouth for some reason. See here. I'll show you a little more of the internet, I guess. So you guys all see MySpace, right? Everyone's like teenage daughters on here, and you're like, show me your profile. And it's like, it's actually, if you were on the internet before MySpace, you remember like Angel Fire. Kind of they're very parallel in some ways. It kind of reflects that these people on the internet are in the internet dark ages in some sense. My internet is much more sophisticated than that. And then here's some other ones, you know, not much of this is probably the first site that kind of started having the community collaboration before Friendster. There was LiveJournal, and you could go post all your useless drivel and stuff, and you could post your suicide notes online for everyone to read, and you could have a community of people who are all interested in suicide and things. This guy here, Clerk, he was a pretty good Slashdot troll guy. He pioneered the first post troll, where if you're familiar with first posting on Slashdot, like you got to get the stupidest first post there, and then you win in some realm of. And then here's another one. This is the first reputation system that I remember on the internet where the user could actively vote and add value to the content and classify the content. This is so, and I consider myself an expert in hot or not. So, you know, I'm with my expert opinion in. So, I think they're wrong, but one is probably more correct. See here. I totally skipped the zine period. That's kind of a collaborative thing. This was a pretty good zine. If any of you read Elate, this is a pretty good one. It documents this cheesy hacker culture pretty well. Not you guys, but so it's like ASCII drawings. They documented one interesting event in hacker history, I think, in this somewhere. Let me find it. From Haggis, if you guys remember, like 97 era of defacement. There's like the Haggis crew with all these infamous defacers. And here's a legendary fight of me versus SWR. It captured a pretty high quality rendition of the event. And then there's other things. I think Frack Magazine is probably a little better than this one in terms of content, and they use moderators. But if you read the moderator lists over years, you see the effects of nepotism occurring throughout each period of time when it was handed off, that they would hand off the magazine to these different groups. And so then it was handed off to Rout, Mike Schiffman, and then you saw that whole Gill handling Root thing going on, and then they handed off to the Australians and such. And now, who knows, there's 2 Frack magazines apparently now, Frack RU and Frack.com, and the line of which one is the right one and which one captures the essence of their mission statement or whatever, it's hard to tell which one it is. Is it the satirical aspect of the internet, or is it the technical aspect? And I think they're kind of very intertwined, actually. And I have one more internet to show you, maybe. Yeah, I can skip all these. Oh, here's an interesting thing. I find this an interesting thing. This is people. You guys used the internet before. People who use the internet now used it. And so, have you ever read these things? This is about cyberbullying. This is a real thing that the PTA and the educational system is now trying to combat. This is a real problem on the internet. Tell me if any of these sound familiar. Did you ever do this to people on the internet before? Sending cruel, vicious, and sometimes threatening flames? Creating websites that have stories, cartoons, pictures, and jokes ridiculing others? Internet is the good stuff. Posting pictures of classmates online, I think I have a good one here. I won't post it. Then breaking into someone's email account and sending messages at them, and messaging someone in IM, letting them reveal some personal information, and then telling everyone about it, It's funny, and you guys are laughing because we all did that, but the rest of society says this is actually not positive. And then one more awesome part of the internet that I like. I like the IRC. It's pretty fresh. And this is a pretty good spot. These guys know what they're talking about. I'm serious about that. But they don't seem like it initially. Oh, that sucks ass. Okay, I'll just go on here. These guys, I work with these guys a lot. They're kind of like something awful forums, controllers, and they turned into educated people after they finished college. And so we work on different projects with them, and breaking capture. They did the first capture breakings and other things, and they also have other cool stuff here. Maybe we get here. See, this is the IRC. They got good stuff like this on it. Pretty good stuff. And this is another collaboration. This is because Usenet was not fast enough. You couldn't flame people fast enough on Usenet. So in 1992 or whatnot, let's make the IRC so we can flame people 10 times faster and make 10 times more noise on the internet and make it more useful.
So, and I think that's kind of like the rest, that's the secret slide. I can't show you that right now. Now, I meant to say this earlier, but I think there's no real ordering in which I could have said the statement. Was that important? But I was talking to Gira when I did this previous presentation last year, or no, it was this year actually. And he said, it's pretty good, but I would like to see more the technical aspect about your presentation. And I thought about okay, sure. And unfortunately, I don't have MATLAB on this computer right now, and my internet at home is down, so I can't get into that computer. So some of the data is missing. So I decided that I'm going to use MS Paint as my data modeling tool. It will work good. And hopefully that will satisfy that thing, the more technical stuff thing. You'll see, it will. Because I'm done joking around. I gotta just get back to my presentation though. Somewhere here. Back button. Oh, here we are. Yay! Whoa, what's that? What's that mean? Should I click it? I'm clicking it. I don't know what it's supposed to do. Fuck that. It says ActiveX. Fuck that. Wait, this is localhost. I'm retarded. Okay, so this is the summary of the recap of the threat. And it's funny, whatnot. I don't know what's funny about it, but so there's kind of 3 groups or 2, but actually they're not really disjunct in terms of set theory. These are all kind of the superpositions of, if you're familiar with physics, or they overlap. My phone's ringing in my bag. I knew nothing happened. I had premonition before I presented. So stupid people, they're non-experts. They post incorrect content, and like they're the flame bait people. They're the people who respond like, "My dad beat up your dad." Like, no, and these people do 2 things: the incorrect, the flame baiters, and then those who contribute to noise in not adversarially, but they don't realize they're stupid. They are causing this value of these collaborative resources to diminish by posting incorrect content and, incorporating themselves into this goofiness. And correcting all these, I'll go over how we correct these. And malicious people who are actively are mean people on the internet, this is like the signal to noise ratio problem also, and they do things like spamming, crap flooding, and trolling. Those are all kind of things that devalue things like email. Like companies spend thousands or like hundreds of dollars, or probably a lot more, on getting rid of all the spam they have. It wastes up all their storage space. A lot of people waste tons of space on storage just keeping spam. And from that perspective, you can see dollar value. But it also has this non-tangible degradation of that medium, the email medium, kind of lame now. And then there's reputation attacks, which are fraudulent content, like phishing. Phishing degrades the value of the brand name. This is how the business people would say. And then specific attacks against a user by trying to say that they're not awesome in ways, like, oh, this person's stupid, or specifically attacking users, saying false information about them, or releasing, some secret information about them that causes the community perception of that user to decrease. And I've had that same problem happen to me before. I'm sure other people have had that problem, where you go into work and then your boss shows you a printout. Not that this happened to me, but hey, why is our source code posted in this easy peppers? Which is not even their source code. They just said it's their source code because the business people don't know the fucking source. They just put any source code in there and say, oh, this is Foundstone source code. It's proprietary, and we hacked Chris Abad, and here it is. And the thing is, those business people, they're making these value judgments without having the expert information. And that's a reputation attack against me, leveraging this incomplete information these people have. And then impersonation, I'm so-and-so, which is just social engineering. And the nepotism is separate from these 2 things. It's the evaluation system. People are aware of what this word means, and I don't feel like I need to explain how that degrades this type of thing, and I can't really quantify it too well. And so those are kind of the threats here in this type of environment. I wish I could condense this. I have so much cooler stuff to do. All right. So some defenses. So I'll go over some of these simple defenses to protect, spamming, crap flooding, whatnot. And they're called entry cost barriers, is how they coined them into academia, where you increase the entry cost to some of these collaborative systems to then decrease your noise. And they do things like putting captures in place, or things like any backoff and retry protocol is essentially this type of entry barrier. Subscription-based things where you just give money, and then now you're a part of the set of people who, you don't have the people who want free stuff bothering you. And these are all some of the simple defenses against that. And so I was doing capture breaking because I work at a SPAM company, and then we went to do image analysis. I'm like, okay, check out some of this stuff. So I'm going to go over, LiveJournal and AOL both have audio captures for people who are blind and use the internet. And the thing is, these captures probably not used that often, and I thought maybe it's a pretty good attack vector, breaking these captures to do things like, oh, I want to create 100,000 MySpace blocks and harass people. And so you guys are familiar with captures, you've seen captures before. Here's an audio capture, actually. Okay, that's the involved data here. And here's the in terms of whatever that's called. So I'll play it, maybe you can hear it. Do I have the sound on? Oh shit. Can you hear that enough? You hear it sounds like Stephen Hawking.
Swap, 337.
So they sound simple enough, you know, they just have numbers and letters, which just like the digital captures have. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll look into this, it'll be fun to analyze these types of things. And so this engineer guy sits next to me, like electrical engineer and DSP experience and whatnot. I'm like, okay, we have this computer signal and we just want to like try to decode it. Then I don't want to go through like all this hubbubbery. Is there any like simple ways to do this? And he's like, oh, why don't you use like autocorrelation, use like a convolution filter of your image, the sample piece that you want to match. And that actually didn't work at all because right here's a convolution. Like I took one of the letters, and then you just take the letter in the time domain, and then you just convolve it along there, and it tells you essentially these peaks means the signal was the most similar in those places. But the problem about speech synthesis is there's a lot of variable attenuation in the sample, and then other like inaudible aspects by the human ear that make this method actually completely fail. Convolution to do kind of like matching the signal is a very specialized case. It only works for like very nice signals, and human speech is not really a very nice signal. And so I'm looking into it more and like wondering, here, I have a Photoshop here too. Here's the same signal in the spectral domain, in the frequency domain. And you can kind of see these type of patterns emerge. That you see replicated patterns, like those first three look the same, and those two on the right, one in and the last look the same. And you see that they have like a clear, similar structure. And it turns out that the way everything I did basically failed in trying to crack this. So I kind of looked for open source packages that actually, voice recognition. There's one called Sphinx 2, because I'm just going to compress this down. I'm not going to demo it because I can't even get to my home machine. But Sphinx 2 is this package by CMU that uses hidden Markov modeling and then cepstral analysis to then kind of statistically try to match these things that something is saying. And it turned out that Sphinx 2 worked really well for this. And it actually, there was actually a logo grammar for logo programming verbally. You could just talk to it and you could program logo. And I just hacked up that grammar model to just like track captures here, other captures. And that turned out to work actually fine. So if you want to try that, just go download Sphinx 2 or something. It works out of the box, any audio capture. And then this one guy, I wonder if I can find the site. Should have saved it. I haven't tried that. Here we go. See this guy. So this guy is one of the LiveJournal workers. He works there, and he somehow got all mixed up with our goofy internet troubles. And so from this group, Bandhound, that would just go around harass people. And so he took this audio capture code and just basically registered tons of AIM accounts automatedly, and then his goal was, I'm going to install everyone on AIM. And so you see here, and he actually came up with a real, very kind of elegant engineering way to do this. Like LiveJournal provides a search facility by giving you the most recently updated journals. So you can see who's online within the last like 50 minutes, go to their page, scrape their screen name, and then do whatever you might want to do with it. You could like monetize this if you're like a spammer or an advertiser by scraping all these names and knowing through a message. What he wanted to do was just insult them. And you click on these people, see here, IM logs. This is kind of the coolest part about it, is that here's the responses that people give. And he scraped a lot of information. This is all public information. Like, when you think of it as one-off, oh, I published my screen name, you can tell I'm signed on, how long I was signed on, what kind of client I have. But when you amass, like, millions of users and all of their information, this value, this informational value starts to emerge. Like, MySpace and Threads, they were evaluated like $500 million. Why? Not because their technology, it's because all this information people give them for free. So that's that. Well, you could add yourself to it if you want. I think it's URL's private, but whatever. Sweet, demo time. I wonder if that means that I should do one, but no. I'm going to skip the visual captures this time. I don't want to talk about it today. And, you know, I gave this demo last time. It was kind of funny. People thought it was funny. And if you, some of you were in contact, you saw the Ho Assassin demo. And I'm not going to do the demo because the machine, but I'll explain it real quick. And Spam Assassin has component Bayesian classification. And its premise is that, besides Bayes' theorem, is that the information actually contained within a message will not follow a normal distribution. Otherwise, using this model of conditional probability, you're really not going to be able to distinguish things from spam or not spam. And it turns out that like language follows something called a power law distribution. And also, if you think of like a MySpace profile, the profile exists for some reason and provides musical interest, general interest, and things. If that information wasn't useful, then it wouldn't be posted. And what they're implying by allowing you to post this information is that someone else will be able to read your profile and make judgments and stereotype judgments about you to see whether, for some reason, you guys are compatible in any means. And it turns out like all the pieces that people post in their profile also follow the power law distribution, which means statistical classification will work against these. And so what I did was I took, a bunch of MySpace profiles of girls that I, was able to make out with, and then a bunch that I wasn't able to make out with, and I just formatted like an RCA22 mail, and then just trained one set as spam and one set as legitimate. And this is just like, and then if you want to classify some other person, my question was like, will this chick make out with me or not? But you could come up with more useful questions, and people already do this. Like all your credit card companies profile you in this way, advertisers profile you in this way. You might as well leverage this technology this Spam Assassin has provided me with, and find out if you make out with people or whatnot. What's up, Toby?
You did this purely based on the text, as I recall, right?
Yeah, just on the text,
Have you thought about looking at doing analysis based on the collection of images and similarities in the image sets that they post on their sites, or possibly on the types of music? So, you can identify the more needy girls based on the fact that they're listening to really depressing songs.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and these are the things. No, he's absolutely fucking right. I had a slide in my mind that I didn't draw for you guys, and the slide was like, a rapper, and it said cowboy under it, and that was my null hypothesis, or my, to prove this. it's that these characteristics that define like things like a rapper or a cowboy or whatnot, they're statistical characteristics. They're not like a taxonomy, like a dichotomy that you prove exactly. They're very statistical characteristics, and it takes kind of the human mind to look at that and say, oh, these girls are wearing like little skimpy clothing, maybe they're sexual or something, you know? And because these are just different characteristics that society, you know, correlates. And I have notes here, so I don't forget what I mean to say. And this is going to transition into this next talk. So yeah, these basic classifiers, everyone uses them, and only people have been aware of them recently because of spam. But these things have a lot of uses, and I'm going to go into, I wonder if it's related. What I was going to say.
By doing this against a non-Western population, see how different it is?
No, what?
A non-Western population, see if there's any change in the type of information that's the shape of the information?
Oh yeah, here, this is going to be the next talk. This is cool. So, the next talk I have is on whales. Let's see here. Here we are, see? Orcas and other cetacines. An exciting mini talk. Like 3 weeks ago or a while back, I just was like, oh, whales are pretty cool. Because, like I just said, culture is very correlative. And culture follows these statistical models that are very apparent. Like parallel curves and all these buzzwords I could throw at you, but that's so whales actually, right now people are like having a lot of arguments and stuff about cultural learning in like orca populations and humpback whales and stuff. So like I thought orcas were kind of interesting because they have a social memory and they learn things socially. All their hunting techniques are all socially learned. None of their hunting at all is genetically. And the way they proved in this was that the whales use dialect, or killer whales are eating whales, they're orcas, but they speak in dialect, I'm not even speaking, but they have a dialect. And there's a set of sounds they make, and a dialect just is like a different way, different populations pronounce sounds, just like in human culture. And the offspring don't have any paternal dialect. All their dialect is maternal. And unless the dialect is stored in like mitochondria or something, you would assume through genetics some of the dialect would come from the parent, the paternal side, but it doesn't. And that was, these biologists proved that this learning must be social, culturally, or social. They don't want to call it culture because like anthropologists get mad about that word, but it's socially learned definitely, and it's not coded within the DNA. And they have really cool hunting techniques. I don't have time. I could just talk about whales forever. But as humpback whales are pretty interesting too. They sing songs, and like in 1971 and 1978, there's a massive humpback whale songs recorded, and recently in the last few years, people were asking about the informational entropy characteristics of these songs to see if they model, or they can be modeled by these same types of models that we use for like human analysis. And so they broke up all these humpback whale songs into like little units. I actually emailed these guys and give me the humpback whale songs like transcribed into these units. The units are roughly equivalent like human phonemes. Not that these whales actually communicate and speak conversationally, but in terms of how you group sounds characteristically. And so they have like sounds that are like ooh or you know, and they all have the characteristic sound. And so they just mapped it out like a sequence, just a sequence of sounds. And from there, you could approach that like you approach like analyzing language. And what's here, I'm going to use MS Paint here. So if you break up these phonemes and whatnot, or these whale sounds,
or whale sound pairs, like bigram pairs of them, or on and on, you will get, a curve like this, parallel distribution. See, MS Paint is a coarse data plotting tool, so it gives this distribution. This distribution does not entail like language, hierarchical language, but it's a characteristic of all hierarchical language. And so they saw this distribution in these sounds. And so then these other researchers were, well, can I describe these whale songs using a context-free grammar? And it turns out that the whale songs have a hierarchical grammar structure, a context-free grammar. This doesn't entail that these whales are communicating with each other through song, but their songs exhibit the same statistical structure, and not only statistical structure, but you could also model it in terms of the context-free grammar, which means like things like the Markov process will not sufficiently, if you build a Markov process based on the sequence of their things and then try to just use a generator to produce some new whale song, the whale would know, oh, this song is bogus, even though it follows the same statistical properties, it doesn't adhere to its hierarchical grammar model. So I think that answers your question probably. At the same time, do other cultures other than Western cultures have the same property? Yeah, whale culture does.
So actually, what I was looking at was how did the distribution change between cultures in terms of what you can find out and do this?
The statistical properties are all absolutely exactly the same. Even Japanese, which is not, the grammar there is very different, the structure of the grammar, but it still follows this basic distribution principle. I wonder if I want to say more about whales. No. So now this next third thing I'm going to talk about is the thing that I thought of the other day. And I was talking to Dean, because he was working on his like little thingy that he's going to present in the next, after me. And he was one that makes some sweet demos with it, so it got me to thinking, what can I wanted to integrate his thing that he's doing into something that I was doing, but I never actually got around to integrating into IDA. So I did it in using debug. So what I'm going to explain and then do something that I didn't explain and then do what I did explain is this. I thought, well, I'm always talking about this collaborative stuff recently, and I work for CloudMark, it's an anti-spam company that does collaborative spam filtration and whatnot. I thought, well, shit, there's this thing called the BLAST database, and for any of you, I don't know how many people, my friend Marshall Betta was working on this protocol informatics, and we really got involved into pattern sequencing of genes, and it turns out that they have, the geneticists and the computational biologists have a database, a collaborative database where they submit sequence motifs. They're called sequence motifs. And what a sequence motif is, in terms of computer terms, is just a regular expression. Geneticists, if you equate the geneticist's problem with the reverse engineer's problem, imagine an architecture that you don't know the language, and 90% of the code is dead code, and you need to reverse engineer this. So they don't even know the grammar of language in terms of its hierarchical grammar. All they know is statistical properties and regular expressions to find protein codings. And so they use this database. What they do is they find a sequence, it codes for like some tryptamine or something, and so then they enter the code into this BLAST database, and they tag it with different information about it. And then when a new researcher comes along and they have this ability to sequence the cucumber or something, and they just submit the cucumber sequence, and it goes along and tries to find all these motifs. And when Bunny was talking about these hardware motifs, it's exactly the same idea. They're basically just regular expressions. You kind of match an area and it looks similar, so you could say maybe it's functionally similar. And
So they don't even deal with looking at sequences half the time. They just submit this database and it tags it for them all along the lines, and you can kind of figure out what different areas does. And so I'm thinking, well, shit. When reverse engineering wasn't like the current fad, people would do this. This is how people would find bugs. They just like go rep through like SPRNF like calls, or like in C code by just looking at a sequence of instructions that looks like it, or a call out to it, and they just rep through the code. That's it. And people still do that. You want to think that you're doing all this new fancy call graph, whatnot stuff, but you're still going around doing this other method too. And so I thought maybe collaborative pattern matching DLE, where you submit, you find like a sequence motif of instructions, and assembly language lends itself to this really well because assembly language and then the opcodes, when you file it out, is a regular language. It's very easy to process. It lends itself well to expression matching that way. So it'd be real easy to facilitate this. And the way I did this was, if you ever heard Razor, or Ripple's Razor, it's a free anti-spam, collaborative anti-spam filter that my company put out before they were my company. And people, all they do is they just submit a spam report to this database somewhere, and it has this black box reputation system that rates it, whether it's spam, based on a whole bunch of users' votes, and then the users' votes are compared against the disposition after the email stabilizes, and then those who are right are given extra points saying, oh, they know about this, and those who are wrong after it stabilizes are detrimented. So you have this like feedback model, and it turns out to work really, really well. So I think a model like that would be useful. And I was going to go more to that, but I actually just was spending time yesterday thinking, well, shit, I want to write some sweet demo code actually. So I'm just going to write a demo. If any of you here, because when I think of reverse engineering, like, it reminds me of Barnaby Jack, and he used to be like a cracker, and before that he was like a demo programmer. And so like those of you who like familiar with like demo programming, it's pretty cool stuff. And or if any of you ever did real mode assembly and used debug.com, it's like the tool people had before we had like fancy IDEA shit. We had debug.com. So it's a pretty fun program here. I'm just going to go ahead and start programming some shit. So you just start putting data into memory. It's pretty fun. So I have this whole demo that I like decided to come up with yesterday. It's kind of fun stuff. So I have two function calls that I will make here. Not in the sense of like C code function calls, but calling out to this area that's where the function is. And then if you remember like all your DOS real mode DOS interrupts, then I'm going to do like a new line character return deal. I have this all written down here, but I should have translated it over to this machine, but I can't. So have it all written. Actually, you know what? I think I did write down. So here, let me just fuck this shit. So is that it? Yeah, that's it. I think. It's not as exciting since it's preloaded. So imagine I typed all this out right now. And so basically, what's going on up here, these two calls go out to like two function routines, and then I call interrupt 21, which is like generic DOS real mode like things like print a string, so I print like two characters. Then then right here where you see it moves FFFF and then BX into AX and then O200 into BX. That's just like my idle loop that sits there, so I can like time this so it's not like super fast. That's a good way of doing it. And then wrote this portion of code here that what's going on here is I pack the register with all these bits of saying some stuff in memory, and then that's real detailed explanation, huh?
And effectively, my demo is not super awesome, but it is to me, so whatever. Haha, yes. It's one decellular automata that like is a fractal, you know, so that's what I like. So, and it's 256 bytes long, and I coded it yesterday, so that's fine. You know, I guess I'm done talking really. My conclusion, I don't know. I should come up with one right now. Maybe I have one. Nope. So yeah, do you have any questions at all about anything I said at all? Probably not. Perfect. Cool. Thank you.
Look at the staff profiles and statistics that get built up for different cultures. For instance, look at horizontal profiles and try and identify static characteristics for North America, South America, Europe, Asia.
No, not really. Like, you could do it. No, but I mean, it's just, there's so many. The thing is, every single person nearby has like an idea of what they can do with it, and I'm only one person, so I can only do the ones I like and find interesting. And so no, I haven't tried that, but I'd like to see the